My history with theater work spans back about 6 years. I've choreographed lots of main stage shows as well as black box shows for the theater. Some of my favorites include Little Shop of Horrors, Twilight's Quest, Secret Garden, and Les Miserables. The Little Prince was written by Antoine Saint-Exupéry in the 1940s and has been one of the most published and most translated books around the world since then. For me personally, my history dates back with this book to when I was in the 7th grade and I read it for the first time. Absolutely fell in love with the story and everything it stood for, and I've probably read it at least once a year since then. Lots of times in the recent past, preparing for the show, but every time I read it and come back to it, I get a little bit something different out of it each time. So it's definitely a book that I've grown up with and has grown as I've grown. When I found out that TheaterWorks was doing The Little Prince, I was thrilled at the idea to be able to direct it. And when TheaterWorks presented me with the opportunity, I jumped at it right away. This is definitely a work of art that needs to be brought to the stage so that more people can enjoy it. I've got a lot of favorite moments in the play. I think probably one of my favorites is the very beginning of the show when the aviator is talking about his drawings and about how his drawings were received by adults when he was a child and the difference between the way adults and children viewed his artistic work.
Once upon a very long time ago, I made this drawing. I showed my masterpiece to the grown-ups and asked, "Does it frighten you?" But they said, "Why should anyone be frightened by a hat?" It was not a hat. So I drew it for them more clearly. You know, grown-ups, they always need to have things explained to them. But I always kept my first drawing with me as a test of true understanding.
Sound projection?
But no matter who I showed it to, they would always say, "That is a hat." So I threw it away. I never again spoke about boa constrictors or primeval forests or stars. And I never again made another drawing. I learned to pilot airplanes.
I'm pretty stubborn in my personal life, and I've discovered that I'm a pretty stubborn director. A lot of the concepts and ideas that I came into this show with, I've luckily been able to stick with for the entire process. I've had this show directed in my head for probably about 5 years now, and it was just waiting for the right opportunity to come out. So these ideas that I've cultivated over the years proved tried and true, and I've been able to keep them going throughout the last 6 weeks. One thing I would say is if you think that The Little Prince is a show for little kids, you're absolutely wrong. This is a show for everyone. You can take a family with a 3-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 40-year-old, and then maybe grandma and grandpa who are in their 70s and 80s, and every single person is going to walk out of that theater learning something and getting something from the story.